Hello guys, buenas tardes. I'm very fresh from 24 hours flight out of Asia, so I'll try to do my best to keep the energy going. So we are a little bit offering a different perspective. It is my understanding that the vast majority of the attendees and companies that BA has been speaking today are somehow rotating around the residential world, and probably none of them operates in Southeast Asia. So I hope I can enrich this conversation by offering these two different perspectives. So in a nutshell, I think it's interesting to see how we evolved from the beginning. We started as pretty much as, let's say, meeting room aggregators, right? Fast forward six years later, we are a full stack tech-enabled brokerage company, solely focused on commercial real estate. On FlySpaces, you can pretty much find anything that goes from a meeting room for an hour to office space for years and above. And now I'm gonna go down to the various products so you guys have a granularity about the product. We built end-to-end transactions, so consumer, actually companies. We mainly target SMEs and corporates. They start the discovery journey through our website. They select a specific office. If they want to schedule a viewing, they can do it through our technology. And ultimately, they can even sign a contract and pay through our system. So completely end-to-end technology. So the office world, especially post-pandemic, I'll never forget that we were speaking in Bangkok on the 28th of February 2020, and a week later, the world went to other situation. So in a post-pandemic world, the office is kind of divided in three. No? Most of the companies kind of have these three approaches. Actually, even the same company, let's say Unilever, a company that all of us will know, have a completely different office strategy depending on the country. Or JP Morgan, and I'll give you a concrete example on how we assisted some of those companies. So the model one is what we call office first. So conventional office space, if you're a big Fortune 500 company, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 square meter of office space in a top address in any major global city around the world. And potentially now you start to have some flexible office space on demand for certain teams. Then you have hybrid. Hybrid is an hybrid version of, you maybe have a conventional office space, but instead of being 5,000, it's 1,000. So core businesses are there. Generally, it's finance-related compliance, where you don't want like laptops going around. Everything has to be secure and safely in very specific location. But then at least 50% of your workforce work in some sort of flexible office space. It can be a private offices in a WeWork, or it can be some sort of like remote various satellite offices across a specific city or a specific number of cities. And then, I mean, smaller part are remote first. So companies that are completely remote. I am based most of my time in the Philippines, which probably some of you know is the world capital of call center. The call center has so many different models. Like JP Morgan in Manila has deals with finance and our credit card information, our personal information, 100% everybody in the conventional offices and know the conversation, right? But Unilever has an hybrid approach, 50-50. Actually, we serve Unilever in multiple countries, and they're using a conventional office space that they rented through us. They have 4 or 5 spaces across Metro Manila, which is as big as the Región de Madrid. So all the employees can access variable, flexible office spaces with a solution that we call Passport, which is an enterprise solution, which is like Gym Pass, but applied to co-working space. To give you an idea about our total addressable market, commercial real estate is particularly strong in Asia because of the fastest economies of it. You know, the average of the economies there are growing 5 to 6%. So and has been booming in the last 20 years. So commercial real estate, it is very much in the hands of the so-called conglomerates, real estate conglomerates, which they own and never sell office space. So the top addresses in Singapore, Manila, Bangkok, Jakarta are in the hands of the conglomerates and are never or rarely for sales. For sure not to consumer. Sometimes you might find a KKR or Blackstone that buys a chunk of billions of dollars of office space, but the big conglomerates internationally hold tight to those assets because they want to create recurrent revenue for their business. To pretty much show you how we fit in all these ecosystem, we deal pretty much with everything which is 2,000 square meters and below. Why is exactly that threshold? Because on a 1,500 square meter, 2,000 and above, are the big brokerage company, the Joe Lang LaSalle's and Savile of the world that have like very strong relationship with Unilever, Coca-Cola, and so on. And these are a very traditional B2B transaction, which requires months of closing negotiation terms, landlord fit outs, I mean, a very complex negotiation. So we traditionally stay in the 2,000 square meters and below because lead time and closing time are reduced dramatically, and we can optimize and automatize as much as possible through technology. But pretty much we talk to anybody that needs 1 seat or a meeting room for an hour to 200 seats, 300 seats, and 2,000 square meter of office space. Just as an educational slide, I mean, 4 years ago, when we were seeing the booming of flexible office space around the world, and before the big boom and the crash of WeWork, a lot of people didn't really understand how exactly the flexible office space world was operating. So pretty much nothing has changed. You have 3 main models and one fourth one coming out post-pandemic. So the first one is the traditional. The Regus and the WeWork, they go to a landlord, they rent 5 floors, they fit it out, cut it into smaller pieces, sublet it, and do arbitrage on rentals, right? Some of them, they have fantastic fit out, some of them have cheaper fit out, also depends on brand positioning. Second one, start to arise towards the end of 2018 and 2019, where the landlord for the first time, and that's a very, very tough sell for Asian landlord, because Asian landlords are merciless on rental, absolutely merciless. They start to have joint venture, meaning an operator like Justco, which is the biggest operator in Singapore, was going to Capital Land, the biggest landowner landlord in Singapore, and they were doing joint venture. And Capital Land was giving them not obviously the prime floors, not penthouses, nothing like that. These are rented by the McKinsey of the world and Goldman Sachs. They were giving them like the floor number 4 and 5, the floor nobody wanted to take. So non-prime, not vital, not core for the landlord, but they were entering joint venture agreement with various number of revenue share. It might look like a hotel management agreement. Not that complex, but it's pretty much look the same. And then the last one, they start arising and is increasing much more now because, of course, occupancy of office spaces are lower because we live in a post-pandemic world. It is management and integrations where the landlord itself, it's building a brand. So it's converting and doing the upfront investment of fitting out a core asset into one of the core locations in a core city. Is going to do the upfront investment, convert it into flexible, and then go into the market with his own brand. The biggest in Singapore is Cloud, which is from Keppel Group, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, which spans from shipping to pharma to real estate. They created a brand, Cloud, and how the name says it, is only on the penthouses of all their buildings. So all their 7 or 8 buildings that they have in Singapore, all of them, the penthouse, if it was getting vacated, was actually taken over by the Cloud team and converted into beautiful, stunning, amazing, breathtaking views of Singapore skyline. That was pretty much the first one, and it was like shocking for the reason I mentioned before. And now, what you will start to see boutique landlords, which maybe have 1 tower, 1 location, 1 small building, they start to be more reasonable with tenants and actually do the upfront investments and just charge them a higher monthly fee. So that's pretty much how the flexible office space in the world it's operating. Back to our technology, like I mentioned before, SMEs and corporates, we are a sort of B2B SaaS transaction solutions where a procurement manager, marketing manager, HR manager, staff-related people that deal with the people within the organization, they can open our app or go on our website, and they can even pinpoint building. Let's say that our core office is in building A. Is there any flexible office space in building A? So we keep everybody in the same office, in the same tower. Or is building B walking distance from building A? So they can select a specific building in one of the 12 cities where we operate across Southeast Asia, and look at the whole inventory in that specific building. They will be able to see conventional office space, flexible office space, meeting room, function room, and so on. For the landlord, what we did is a little bit like Airbnb on the host side. No? Any landlord can sign up. There is a little more accreditation process on our side. Any landlord can sign up and upload their inventory that they have within specific location or locations. Our revenue model is pretty straightforward, so we are completely transaction, so we don't charge classified ads. We did in the past for certain brands like Regius and WeWork, they wanted the logo, certain things, but we noticed that unlike the nature of the big classified ads, our nature is a complete transaction. So mixing these two DNA that didn't really work well for us. So we have a traditional brokerage fee when we deal with conventional office space. We have a fully registered entity in each country we operate and a fully real estate license in every country where we operate. Especially Singapore is a very, very restricted market for real estate, so we have to have a fully registered license. So we charge a traditional brokerage fee. On conventional office space, we charge anywhere between 10 and 15% on flexible. And within flexible, we split it in two. We have, we send the client to WeWork or whatever brand in Southeast Asia, and we charge 10-15% depending on the number of criteria, and we monetize the customer for 12 months. Or we have companies with extra office space. It can be any company that has 1,000 square meter, cut in half, and want to sublet to the other 500. In that case, we have perpetual revenue. So we keep charging a flat 10% for the whole lifespan of that client. So some of our clients have been there for years, so we're basically charging a flat 10% perpetual. And then we have the passport product, which is a completely hosted solution, like the gym pass, where companies, they pay us a subscription based on a number of users they have, based on a number of the teams, and they can send the teams across all our co-working spaces network, across all our 12 cities. We got a tremendous amount of data. We can pinpoint by building, floors, crossroads, the kind of office space which people are looking for. Meaning, we know that there is a lot of demand in Singapore, Marina Bay area, for offices that goes between 500 square meter and 1,000 square meter, fitted out or conventional, and so on. So we managed to gather a tremendous amount of data based on all the inquiries that we have. Our unit economics, well, this is not a pitch deck, but just to give you an idea on of course, Asia has been probably the region of the world with the strictest COVID restriction. Just to give you, put it in perspective, a year ago in Madrid we were partying until 6 a.m. In Singapore, clubs reopened 3 months ago, right? Just to put it in perspective. So Asia suffered the strictest regulations COVID, so obviously our revenue, were severely affected. But now what we have is a tremendous amount of business of conventional companies, the Unilever of the world. They are reducing their intake of conventional office, and they're dramatically increasing their flexible office space intake because they have policies of 50% working from home and so on. You can see that our ARPU, so that's our net commission, net take-up rate commission, per client is about $9,000. Right? So it's a relatively high ticket size. And the average time that our tenants, our customers stay with us has been severely increasing over time because now people are taking longer offices, but not conventional, flexible. So they're signing, before they were signing 3 months flexible office space, now they're signing 12 months, 14 months, 18 months on contract. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys.
Mario, thank you very much. Fantastic. Hey, thank you for coming all the way from Singapore to do
Manila.
this. Manila, sorry. Close enough. Right, let's come over here. We've got some questions coming up. Are you seeing a lot of commercial to residential conversions?
It's a fantastic question. So I'm sure, I was talking to the CBRE country manager here. He told me that in Madrid it's already happening. In Asia, again, that's where we operate, it hasn't. Also because the regulation, you understand, some countries are not the most transparent, the most lean country. Singapore is, but Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, not exactly. Converting 45 floors building with the floor-to-ceiling thick windows into a residential, it's cheaper to dynamite it down and start it from the beginning. So these on the high rises, which is most of our office spaces are, it hasn't happened yet. We for sure gonna see it when there is a normal use and tear of certain building, and they will be destroyed and rebuilt into residential.
Okay. Is there any reason why your ARPU dropped from 9K in 2021 down to 6 in 2022?
Yeah, it's simply because we have a larger volume of customer now. Before in 2021, there were really few customers that have very high demand for very specific office space. Now we have much more customer, okay? So kind of the bundle rate gets diluted because we have way more customers. So some customers asking for 1 month, somebody for 18, so it gets diluted. That's pretty much
understandable.
It's a good news. In a way, it's a good news.
Okay. Well, you're expanding your customer base, which is the most important. You can then grow the amount of yield per customer over time. Are there any big cultural differences in office usage between Europe and Asia?
Where do I start? How much time you guys have? My employees are, I run an insurance company. I have about 80 employees in Manila alone. My employees are all of them triple vaccinated, all of them using double face mask at the office, and they will do it forever. Just to give you an example, right? Pretty much, when Singapore dropped the requirement for face mask, you could only see me at the airport without wearing a face mask, right?
So this is now embedded into everyday life.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the COVID restriction, like the obsession of QR codes here and there, scan temperature control, we will have it forever in Asia. I can give you an example. We never had thermoscanner in European airport, if you think about it, right? In Hong Kong, they had it since SARS and never left. And in Asia, we have it since SARS, right? So because of SARS, most of the Asian airport, they started a thermoscanner. We talk about SARS was in 1999, I don't even remember, 2000? Since then, thermoscanner has been installed in Asian airports, small and big, still there, right? I'm pretty much sure we're going to have thermoscanner in Europe for the rest of our lives as well.
Okay. So with these cultural differences, how does that impact on your business and how you think of rolling out the business model?
Yeah, so mostly it is positive because in Asia, there's still these, employees have to be at the office because, it's culturally. Also, the cities are so big and, you want to keep control on people, a level of education. I mean, of course, Singapore, it is an outlier, right? But think about a call center. Who of you has ever visited a call center office? A teleperformance? Where have you seen it? In Joburg? Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure it's pretty much the same. It is a Fort Knox of people. Right? The people enter, they need to take everything off. They have metal scanner to check it. They have USB because they don't want any USB to be plugged into the laptop. They can take a 15 minutes break every time. If they leave the building, there is checking again, scanners, etc., etc. It also depends on the level of business. I mean, JP Morgan in Manila, which is actually next to our office, has 2,000 people, the whole building. And it's interesting to see the kind of thing that they outsource. So any investment deck of any JP Morgan investment banker in London, New York, is not an investment banker paid $500,000 a year doing it. It's submit a ticket request that goes to Manila, and is a young guy or girl they study economics in the Philippines, building the pitch deck for them. So the outsourcing industry, because of the great resignation, is actually booming. So in the Philippines, we start to have a tremendous amount uptake again on office spaces, but specifically on call center.
Okay. One last question. In Barcelona, there's a company doing co-living spaces, essentially shared corporate housing. Do you see this as an opportunity?
So we try to, just A/B testing, landing page. Co-living, I think in Europe is much more advanced than in Asia, because co-living in Asia for us is dormitories, right? So our small rises next to the big financial district of Manila, Jakarta, Singapore, And it's pretty much, again, one company renting the whole dormitories and putting their employees in it. So in Singapore are next to the airport because real estate is cheaper. But you need to split. Co-living is where, a consumer, the millennial, the Gen Z, out of his own expenses and budget, pick a co-living and is going to be there for whatever amount of time. Dormitories, it's again a B2B transaction where a company rents the dormitories or half of it for the employees.
Mario, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experiences with FlySpaces. Now, could I please have that? Thank you very much. No, you can't keep it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.